The massive alien vessel appeared in Earth's orbit without warning, its sleek obsidian hull reflecting the pale blue of humanity's homeworld. Global defense systems, caught off guard, scrambled to respond as panic spread across the planet. Commander Sarah Chen of the International Space Station watched the ship through reinforced windows, her heart racing. As Earth's closest outpost, the ISS crew found themselves unexpectedly on the front lines of first contact. Status report, Sarah barked into her comm unit. No response to hails on any frequency, replied her communications officer. The ship is maintaining geosynchronous orbit. No signs of aggressive action, but no signs of communication either. Sarah's mind raced. Years of training had prepared her for this moment, but the reality was far more overwhelming than any simulation. She knew the next few minutes could determine the fate of humanity. Keep trying all frequencies, she ordered, and get me a direct line to mission control. As Sarah waited for the connection, she studied the alien vessel. Its smooth surface betrayed no hint of weapons or propulsion systems, yet its very presence spoke of technology far beyond human capabilities. The comm unit crackled to life. Commander Chen, this is Mission Control. We're patching you through to the Security Council. Sarah took a deep breath, steadying herself. This is Commander Chen. I have visual confirmation of the alien vessel. No hostile actions observed, but no response to communication attempts. The grave voice of the UN Secretary General responded. Commander, your station is our eyes and ears right now. We need you to attempt direct contact. Sarah's eyes widened. Sir, with all due respect, we're not equipped for. You're the closest we have. Commander, the Secretary General interrupted. The fate of our planet may rest on establishing peaceful communication. We're counting on you. The line went silent, leaving Sarah with the weight of the world on her shoulders. She turned to her crew, seeing a mix of fear and determination in their eyes. All right, team. This is what we've trained for, she said, injecting confidence into her voice. We're going to attempt a spacewalk to establish visual contact. Liu, you're with me. Martinez, you're on comms. The rest of you, stand by for rapid evac if things go south. As Sarah and Liu donned their spacesuits, the gravity of the situation settled over the station. They were about to become the first humans to make direct contact with an alien species. The airlock cycled, and they stepped out into the void. Maneuvering with their suit thrusters, Sarah and Liu approached the alien vessel. Up close, its surface seemed to shimmer and shift, as if it were alive. Sarah activated her suit's external speakers. This is Commander Sarah Chen of Earth. We come in peace and wish to establish communication. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, without warning, a seam appeared in the ship's hull, widening into an entrance. A figure emerged, tall, slender, with iridescent skin that seemed to ripple in the starlight. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The alien raised a hand in what seemed to be a gesture of peace. Then, to her astonishment, it spoke in perfect English. Greetings, humans of Earth. We are the Zarkai. We have traveled far to meet you. Sarah's mind reeled. How did they know English? What did they want? As if reading her thoughts, the alien continued. We have observed your world for some time, learning your languages and cultures. We come seeking alliance, for a great darkness threatens us all. Before Sarah could respond, alarms blared from her suit. She turned to see hundreds of small objects detaching from the Zarkai ship, hurtling towards Earth. What's happening? She demanded. The alien's expression shifted to one of sorrow. I am sorry. Not all of my kind seek peace. We have been betrayed. As Sarah watched in horror, the objects entering Earth's atmosphere ignited, becoming fiery streaks across the sky. The invasion had begun. Rising tensions, diplomacy fails. The days following first contact were a blur of chaos and confusion. Earth's major cities had been hit by the alien projectiles, which turned out to be advanced infiltration pods. From these pods emerged Zarkai warriors, armed with weapons that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Commander Sarah Chen, along with her colleague Liu, had been quickly extracted from the International Space Station and brought to a secure underground facility. Here, they found themselves at the center of Earth's hastily assembled Defense Council. Sarah stood before a group of grim-faced world leaders, recounting her experience for what felt like the 100th time. The Zarkai who spoke to us claimed to seek alliance, but warned of betrayal from within their own ranks. It seems we're caught in the middle of some sort of civil conflict. General Ramirez, a stern-faced woman with salt and pepper hair, leaned forward. That's all well and good, Commander, but it doesn't change the fact that we're under attack. These peaceful Zarkai haven't made any attempt to stop their warriors. We need to try diplomacy, argued Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a renowned xenobiologist. This could all be a misunderstanding, if we could just establish communication. While we talk, people are dying, thundered the Russian president, slamming his fist on the table. We must strike back with everything we have. The room erupted into heated debate. Sarah watched, a knot forming in her stomach. This was humanity at its worst, divided and fearful in the face of the unknown. Suddenly, all eyes turned to a figure who had remained silent until now. Dr. Emily Frost, a brilliant strategist known for her unorthodox approaches, stood up. "We're missing the point," she said quietly, her voice somehow cutting through the chaos. "We're not dealing with a unified alien force. We're dealing with factions. We need to understand their motivations, find the peaceful Zarkai, and turn this civil conflict to our advantage." A hush fell over the room as her words sank in. It was a dangerous gambit, but it offered a glimmer of hope in an increasingly desperate situation. The UN Secretary-General nodded slowly. "Dr. Frost, Commander Chen, I want you two to lead a task force. Your mission is to establish contact with the peaceful Zarkai faction and gather intelligence. The rest of us will focus on defense and containment." As the meeting adjourned, Sarah felt a mix of relief and trepidation. She approached Dr. Frost, extending her hand. "Looks like we'll be working together." Emily shook her hand firmly. "Indeed, and we have our work cut out for us." Over the next few weeks, Sarah and Emily worked tirelessly. They analyzed every scrap of data from the attacks, studied footage of the Zarkai warriors, and pored over Sarah's recordings from first contact. Slowly, a picture began to emerge. The Zarkai were a species divided. One faction, led by a figure known as the Archon, believed in cosmic manifest destiny, the right to conquer and subjugate other species. The other faction, calling themselves the Harmony, sought peaceful coexistence and mutual growth. But how to contact the Harmony faction? The answer came from an unexpected source. Liu, who had been working with a team of linguists, burst into their command center one day, his eyes wild with excitement. "We've cracked it," he exclaimed. "The Zarkai language, it's not just verbal. There's a complex system of bioluminescence signaling. We think we can use it to broadcast a message they'll understand." It was a breakthrough, but it came with enormous risk. Broadcasting such a signal could attract the attention of both Zarkai factions, and Earth's defenses were already stretched to the breaking point. The decision went all the way up to the Security Council. After hours of debate, they gave the green light. It was a desperate gamble, but with Earth's major cities under siege and conventional weapons proving ineffective against Zarkai technology, options were running out. On a clear night, with the world holding its breath, humanity sent its message to the stars. Powerful lasers painted the sky with intricate patterns of light, mimicking the bioluminescent language of the Zarkai. The message was simple: we seek harmony. We seek peace. For 3 agonizing days, there was no response. Earth's defenses remained on high alert, expecting an escalation of hostilities at any moment. Sarah, Emily, and their team worked around the clock, analyzing every scrap of data for any sign of a response. On the 4th day, as hope began to fade, it happened. A Zarkai ship, smaller than the original vessel, appeared in orbit. Unlike the obsidian warships, this one shimmered with soft, vibrant colors. A transmission came through on all frequencies, in perfect, unaccented English. People of Earth, we are the Harmony. We have heard your call, and we come to stand with you against the darkness. Cheers erupted in command centers around the world. It seemed that humanity had found its allies. But even as hope surged, a sobering reality set in. The real battle was just beginning. The Harmony ship landed in a remote desert location, agreed upon by Earth's leaders. Sarah and Emily led the delegation to meet them, their hearts pounding with a mix of anticipation and fear. As the ship's doors opened, bathing the desert in soft, multicolored light, Sarah steeled herself. This moment would shape the future of both their species. She stepped forward, hand extended in greeting, ready to face whatever came next. But nothing could have prepared her for what emerged from the ship. The Zarkei of the Harmony were not the towering, intimidating figures of the warriors. They were smaller, almost fragile-looking, with large, expressive eyes and skin that shimmered with ever-changing patterns of light. The leader of the Harmony delegation approached Sarah and Emily. Its voice, when it spoke, was melodious and soothing. I am Voreen, speaker for the Harmony. We have much to discuss, and little time. The fate of both our peoples hangs in the balance. As Voreen began to explain the full scope of the conflict that had brought the Zarkei to Earth, Sarah and Emily exchanged glances. They had hoped for allies, but what they had found was so much more, and so much more complicated, than they could have imagined. The battle for Earth was about to enter a new phase, one that would test the limits of human ingenuity, adaptability, and courage. And at the center of it all stood Sarah Chen and Emily Frost, two women carrying the weight of two worlds on their shoulders. The human factor, an unexpected hero. As the sun rose over the desert, casting long shadows across the sand, Sarah Chen and Emily Frost sat in deep discussion with Voreen and the other Harmony delegates. The more they learned about the Zarkei conflict, the more complex the situation became. Our species has been locked in this ideological war for millennia, Voreen explained, its skin pulsing with patterns of light that seemed to emphasize its words. The Archon and his followers believe that evolution demands the strong dominate the weak. We of the Harmony believe in cooperation and mutual growth. Emily leaned forward, her brow furrowed in concentration. But why Earth? Why now? Voreen's eyes seemed to shimmer with a mix of admiration and sorrow. Your world is unique, humans. You have achieved so much in so little time. The Archon sees you as a threat to be eliminated. We see you as the key to breaking this cycle of conflict. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean, the key? Before Voreen could answer, alarms blared from the human encampment. A young lieutenant burst into the meeting tent, his face pale with fear. Commander Chen, Dr. Frost, we've detected multiple Archon ships entering the atmosphere. They're converging on major population centers worldwide. The tent erupted into a flurry of activity. Sarah barked orders into her comm unit while Emily huddled with Voreen, rapidly discussing strategy. Within minutes, they had formulated a plan. We'll split up, Sarah announced. Emily, you stay here with half the Harmony delegates. Coordinate our global defense strategy. Voreen and I will take a team to New York. If we can capture or neutralize the Archon's command ship, we might be able to end this war in one stroke. As they prepared to depart, Emily pulled Sarah aside. Be careful out there, she said, her usually calm demeanor cracking slightly to reveal genuine concern. We need you to come back in one piece. Sarah managed a small smile. Hey, it's me. What could go wrong? Hours later, as Sarah crouched behind the twisted wreckage of a car in what used to be Times Square, she reflected that perhaps she shouldn't have tempted fate. The scene around her was apocalyptic. Archon warriors, their armor gleaming with an otherworldly light, strode through the streets, laying waste to everything in their path. Beside her, Voreen's skin had taken on a muted, camouflage-like pattern. "The command ship is near," it whispered. "I can sense the Archon's presence." Sarah nodded grimly. Their small team, a mix of human special forces and Harmony operatives, had fought their way through the city, but the cost had been high. Now, they were all that stood between the Archon and total victory. "All right, listen up," Sarah addressed her remaining team. "We have one shot at this. Our Harmony friends have provided us with disruptors that should penetrate Archon armor. We get in, we take down the Archon, we get out. Any questions?" A grizzled sergeant raised his hand. "Just one, ma'am. How the hell are we supposed to get close enough to use these disruptors without being turned into cosmic dust?" It was a fair question. The Archon's personal guard was legendary even among the Zarkai. Sarah was about to respond when a new voice cut through the air. "Maybe you need a distraction." They all turned to see a figure emerge from the shadows. He was tall, with unkempt hair and a scraggly beard, wearing the tattered remains of what might have once been a business suit. In his hands, he clutched an assortment of makeshift devices. "Name's Mike. Mike Donovan," he said with a lopsided grin. "Used to be an engineer before all this. Been watching you folks, and I think I might be able to help." Sarah eyed him warily. "How?" Mike's grin widened as he held up one of his devices. "See, I've been studying their tech. Managed to cobble together a few surprises. This baby here. It's a sonic disruptor. Won't hurt them much, but it'll play hell with their sensors for a few minutes. Long enough for your team to get close, maybe." Sarah exchanged glances with Faurine, who nodded almost imperceptibly. She turned back to Mike. "All right, Mr. Donovan. You're in. But you follow my orders to the letter, understood?" Mike gave a mock salute. "Yes, Mom." As they finalized their plan, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at the strange turns her life had taken. Here she was, a space station commander turned guerrilla leader, about to launch an assault on an alien warlord with the help of a peaceful alien faction and a scrappy human engineer. If someone had told her this would be her future a month ago, she would have laughed in their face. The attack began at dusk. Mike's devices worked better than anyone had dared hope, sending the Archon's forces into disarray. Sarah led her team through the chaos, Faurine at her side, their disruptors making short work of any Archon warrior that crossed their path. They fought their way to the heart of the Archon ship, a massive chamber filled with pulsing, organic-looking technology. And there, on a raised dais, stood the Archon himself. He was a towering figure, his armor covered in constantly shifting patterns of light that seemed to hurt the eyes. "Foolish creatures," the Archon's voice boomed, seeming to come from everywhere at once. "Did you think your primitive tricks could stop the inevitable? I am the future. I am evolution incarnate." Sarah raised her disruptor, but before she could fire, a blast of energy from the Archon sent her flying. She hit the wall hard, her vision blurring. Through the haze of pain, she saw Faurine engaged in what looked like a battle of light and will with the Archon, their bodies surrounded by swirling patterns of bioluminescence. But the Archon was too strong. Faurine fell to its knees, its light dimming. The Archon turned towards Sarah, energy crackling around his hands. "And now, human, you will witness the futility of resistance." As the Archon raised his hand for the killing blow, a voice rang out. "Hey, big guy, catch." Mike Donovan stood at the entrance to the chamber, holding what looked like a mess of wires and scrap metal. Before anyone could react, he hurled the device at the Archon. It struck the alien warlord in the chest and immediately began to glow. The Archon roared in confusion and rage as his armor began to malfunction, its patterns becoming erratic. Sarah didn't waste the opportunity. She raised her disruptor and fired, again and again, until the Archon fell. In the stunned silence that followed, Mike walked over and helped Sarah to her feet. "Electromagnetic pulse," he said with a shrug. "Figured if it works on our tech, might work on theirs too." Sarah stared at him in disbelief before breaking into laughter. It was absurd, impossible, and yet so perfectly human. In that moment, she understood what Varine had meant. Humanity's strength wasn't in its technology or its weapons. It was in its creativity, its adaptability, its sheer audacity in the face of overwhelming odds. As Varine slowly got to its feet, its light growing stronger, Sarah activated her comm unit. "Emily, it's Sarah. The Arction is down." I repeat, the Arction is down. The cheer that came through the comm was deafening. But as Sarah looked around the alien chamber, at her battered team, at Varine's weary but hopeful expression, and at Mike's proud grin, she knew that this was just the beginning. They had won the battle, but the real challenge, building a future where humans and Zarkai could coexist in peace, was just beginning. And somehow, Sarah thought as she put her arm around Mike's shoulders and helped Varine limp towards the exit, she had a feeling they were up to the task. Alliance forged, humans and aliens unite. The days following the fall of the Arction were a whirlwind of activity. As news of the victory spread, Arkan forces across the globe began to surrender or retreat. The war wasn't over, but for the first time since the invasion began, humanity could breathe a collective sigh of relief. Sarah Chen found herself at the center of a storm of diplomacy, strategy meetings, and press conferences. The world wanted to know about the hero who had led the assault on the Archon's ship, but Sarah made sure that credit was given where it was due. "The victory belongs to all of us," she said in a global broadcast, flanked by Emily Frost, Varine, and a slightly uncomfortable-looking Mike Donovan. "Humans and Harmony Zarkai, soldiers and civilians. We won because we stood together." Behind the scenes, however, the situation was far more complex. The defeat of the Archon had left a power vacuum among the conquering Zarkai forces. Some had laid down their arms, but others had splintered into competing factions, each vying for control. In a secure conference room deep beneath what remained of the United Nations building in New York, Sarah sat with Earth's leaders and Harmony representatives, trying to chart a path forward. "We must strike now, while they're disorganized," General Ramirez argued, her fist pounding the table for emphasis. "Push them off our planet once and for all." Varine's skin rippled with patterns of concern. "Such action would only breed more resentment and violence. We must offer a path to peace, even to those who have fought against us." The debate raged on, with valid points on both sides. Sarah listened intently, her mind racing. Finally, she stood up, drawing all eyes to her. "What if we did both?" she said. "We maintain our military readiness, make it clear that further aggression will be met with force. But at the same time, we extend an olive branch, offer the remaining Zarkai a choice: leave peacefully or stay and help us rebuild. Under strict conditions, of course." Emily nodded slowly. "It could work. We show strength, but also mercy. It's very human." Varine's skin glowed with approval, and very much in line with Harmony principles. "I believe this is a path we can all walk together." The plan was far from perfect, and implementing it would be a monumental task. But it was a start. As the meeting adjourned, Sarah felt a glimmer of hope. They had a chance to build something truly extraordinary, a partnership between two species that could reshape the galaxy. Over the next few weeks, the plan began to take shape. Harmony engineers worked alongside human scientists to adapt Zarkai technology for Earth's reconstruction efforts. Former Archon warriors, now seeking redemption, joined mixed human-Zarkai peacekeeping forces to maintain order and protect against holdout extremists. But the most exciting developments were happening in the realm of cultural exchange. Zarkai art, with its intricate light patterns and haunting harmonies, began to captivate human audiences. Human music and literature, in turn, found eager audiences among the Zarkai, who were fascinated by the depth and variety of human emotional expression. Sarah watched all of this with a sense of wonder and pride, but she also knew that there were still major challenges ahead. Anti-alien sentiment remained high in some quarters, and there were extremists on both sides who viewed the alliance as a betrayal of their species. One sunny afternoon, as Sarah was overseeing the construction of a joint humans-Archi research facility, she received an urgent call from Emily. "Sarah, we've got a situation." Emily's voice was tense. "A group of human extremists has taken control of a Zarkai medical ship. They're threatening to destroy it unless all aliens leave Earth immediately." Sarah's heart sank. This was exactly the kind of incident that could unravel everything they had worked for. "Where's the ship now?" she asked, already moving towards her transport. "Holding position over the Atlantic. We've got human and Harmony ships maintaining a perimeter, but if we make any aggressive moves..." "I'm on my way," Sarah said. "And Emily, get me Mike Donovan." Hours later, Sarah found herself on the bridge of a hastily retrofitted shuttle, approaching the hijacked Zarkai vessel. Beside her, Mike fiddled nervously with a device of his own making. "You sure this'll work?" Sarah asked, eyeing the contraption warily. Mike shrugged. "In theory, it should create a localized dampening field that'll knock out their weapons and comms without harming the ship's life support. In practice, well, we'll find out soon enough." Sarah nodded grimly. It was a risk, but they were out of options. If they couldn't end this peacefully, the fragile alliance they had built might crumble. As they neared the Zarkai ship, a gruff voice came over the comms. "That's far enough. 1 more meter and we blow this alien abomination sky high." Sarah took a deep breath. "This is Commander Sarah Chen. I'm here to negotiate." There was a pause, then, nothing to negotiate. Aliens leave, or they die. Simple as that. "It's not that simple," Sarah countered. "The Zarkai on that ship are doctors, healers. They're here to help us. And there are human patients on board too, receiving treatments for injuries sustained during the war." Another pause. Sarah held her breath, hoping her words were getting through. Finally, the voice spoke again, sounding less certain. "Doesn't matter. Can't trust them. They'll turn on us eventually. Better to get rid of them now." Sarah glanced at Mike, who nodded. It was now or never. "I understand your fear," Sarah said softly. "But let me show you something. Something that might change your mind." Before the hijackers could respond, Mike activated his device. There was a momentary flicker of the ship's lights. Then nothing. "What did you do?" The hijacker's voice was panicked now. "Nothing harmful," Sarah assured him. "But I suggest you look out your viewport. Now." As the hijackers rushed to the windows, they gasped in awe. Mike's device had done more than just disable their weapons. It had activated the Zarkai ship's bioluminescent hull, creating a breathtaking display of light and color that rippled across the vessel's surface. "This is Zarkai art," Sarah explained. "A painting of Earth, as seen through their eyes. Beautiful, isn't it? This is how they see us, how they see our world. Does this look like the work of conquerors to you?" There was a long silence. Then, slowly, the airlocks on the Zarkai ship began to cycle open. As Sarah and her team boarded the vessel to secure the situation, she caught Mike's eye. He grinned and gave her a thumbs up. In that moment, Sarah realized that this blend of human ingenuity, alien artistry, and a shared appreciation for beauty, this was the future they were fighting for. A future where the best of both species could come together to create something greater than either could achieve alone. As the crisis was resolved and the hijackers were taken into custody, Sarah looked out at the Earth below, then at the stars above. For the first time since this all began, she felt truly optimistic about what lay ahead. The road would not be easy. There would be more challenges, more conflicts to resolve. But together, humans and Zarkai, soldiers and scientists, artists and engineers, they would face whatever came next. The alliance had been forged in the crucible of war. Now it was time to see what wonders it could create in peace. Victory and reflection. A new era begins. 5 years had passed since the day Sarah Chen and her unlikely allies had defeated the Archon. The world had changed in ways that would have been unimaginable before the invasion. As Sarah stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Harmony Station, a joint human-Zarkai space platform orbiting Earth, she marveled at how far they had come. Below her, the Earth gleamed like a blue jewel, its surface now dotted with the iridescent structures of Zarkai architecture seamlessly blended with human cities. Sleek ships of both human and alien design crisscrossed the skies, a testament to the technological leaps made possible by cooperation. Admiring the view, Commander, or should I say, Admiral. Sarah turned to see Emily Frost approaching, a smile on her face. The years had been kind to Emily, the stress lines of wartime replaced by the confident bearing of a woman who had helped shape a new world. Just thinking about how much has changed, Sarah replied, returning the smile. And please, it's just Sarah now. I'm retiring, remember? Emily chuckled. Ah yes, the big announcement. Are you sure about this? The United Earth and Harmony Coalition could still use you. Sarah shook her head. It's time for new blood, new ideas. Besides, I have other plans. Before Emily could inquire further, the observation deck's doors slid open, admitting a familiar figure. Mike Donovan, now the head of the Human-Zarkai Technological Integration Committee, strode in, his once scraggly beard now neatly trimmed. Ladies, he greeted them with a grin. Ready for the big shindig? Sarah nodded. Today marked the 5th anniversary of the Alliance, and delegates from across Earth and the Zarkai worlds had gathered on Harmony Station to celebrate. It was also the day Sarah had chosen to announce her retirement and her plans for the future. As they made their way to the Grand Assembly Hall, Sarah reflected on the journey that had brought them here. It hadn't been easy. There had been setbacks, moments of crisis when it seemed the alliance might crumble. Extremists on both sides had tried to derail the peace, and there had been cultural misunderstandings that had led to tense diplomatic incidents. But for every challenge, there had been a triumph. The first human-Zarkai medical breakthrough, a cure for a devastating disease that had plagued both species, the launch of the first joint deep space exploration mission, the founding of schools where human and Zarkai children learned side by side, forming friendships that transcended species. The assembly hall was a marvel of joint engineering, its vast dome allowing an unobstructed view of Earth and the stars beyond. As Sarah took her place at the podium, she looked out at the sea of faces before her, human, Zarkai, and even a few representatives from other alien races that had made contact in the years since the invasion. 5 years ago, Sarah began, her voice carrying clearly through the hall. We stood on the brink of annihilation. Today, we stand on the brink of a new golden age. Not just for humanity, not just for the Zarkai, but for all sentient beings who choose the path of harmony. She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the audience. We have achieved much, but our journey is far from over. There are still wounds to heal, trust to build, and challenges to overcome. But I have seen firsthand the wonders we can achieve when we work together, and I have never been more optimistic about our future. Sarah took a deep breath. This was it. Which is why today, I am announcing not just my retirement from active service, but also my next mission. With the support of both human and Zarkai governments, I will be leading a joint expedition beyond our solar system. Our goal is to establish the first human Zarkai colony on a new world, a symbol of our lasting partnership and a beacon of hope for the galaxy. The announcement was met with thunderous applause. As Sarah stepped back from the podium, she caught sight of Vareen in the audience, its skin pulsing with patterns of joy and approval. The rest of the ceremony passed in a blur of speeches, awards, and proclamations. But for Sarah, the most poignant moment came afterwards, in a quiet corner of the station's arboretum. She stood there with Emily, Mike, and Vareen, the 4 of them looking out at the Earth below. They had come so far from that desperate battle in New York, from the days of fear and uncertainty. They had forged an unlikely friendship that had helped change the course of two civilizations. "So," Mike said, breaking the comfortable silence, "a new colony, huh? You guys think you can handle another adventure with this old space cadet?" He grinned, gesturing to himself. Emily rolled her eyes, but her smile was fond. "Someone has to keep you out of trouble, Donovan. Count me in." Varine's skin shimmered with patterns of excitement. "I too would be honored to join this expedition. There is still much our peoples can learn from each other." Sarah felt a warmth in her chest as she looked at her friends. "I wouldn't have it any other way. The four of us, taking on the universe together." As they stood there, planning their next great adventure, Sarah thought about the long journey that had brought them to this point. From the terror of first contact to the triumph of alliance, from suspicion and fear to friendship and trust. They had faced war, prejudice, and the unknown, and had emerged stronger for it. The sun was setting over Earth, painting the planet in hues of gold and purple, but for Sarah and her friends, human and alien alike, it felt like a new dawn. They had survived the darkness, and now they were ready to explore the light. As the stars began to appear, twinkling with the promise of new worlds to discover, Sarah Chen smiled. The future was uncertain, full of challenges and wonders they couldn't yet imagine. But whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. And in that moment, looking out at the vastness of space with her unlikely family by her side, Sarah knew that there was nothing they couldn't accomplish. The end of one chapter, the beginning of another. The story of humanity and the Zarkey was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning.